They don't want to take risks. We play it safe. We try to find candidates that we think are going to win. Well, that does you no good. So when I saw the Bernie crowd and we supported Bernie, and I see all these other folks, these young people, it's giving me the enthusiasm I needed. Because I'm a passion guy. And young people fighting for what's right, that gives you some passion. Early voting, and then the primary election day is August 30th.
Okay.
So he's a real change agent. We need somebody out there to change things up in this country.
I know.
Okay?
I'll get to it.
We got to, okay, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
So 0 for 2. It's a beautiful, despite very humid, muggy day here in beautiful southern Florida. Knocking on doors, people not home, at temple, wherever they are. But we're going to keep going. But this is the reality of door knocking. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. But so far, we haven't been able to contact anyone or talk to anyone that's on the list.
Tim Canova?
Yeah, I was yesterday in the park in Young Circle and I see the activity and all.
Are you familiar with Tim's stance on issues?
Yeah, I believe. I read all his story and
Good.
stuff. So
What's the main issue for you? That's what we're trying to figure out.
As a voter.
As a voter.
yeah. I mean, for the look what he did. You know, he's doing that thing in the Young Circle, having kids have fun and more activities. So why not?
He's for fairness for working families, right? He's
I know.
trying to keep the jobs here in this country. He's also working to make sure that Social Security and Medicare is solvent. He wants to create jobs, raise the minimum wage to $15.
Okay, yeah, no
And
problem.
he does everything right, and he hasn't taken a dime from corporate America.
Oh.
We believe that corporations are kind of killing us at times because there's so much money in politics that these people forgot where they came from.
So we're now 2 for 2 in our last knocks. Both seemed pretty receptive. What do you guys think when you're talking to these people?
Well, we've had one person at this point that has obviously indicated that they know who Tim is, which is very important. And we spoke with another person who's never even heard of him, literally.
Are you familiar with Mr. Canova? The real deal.
And you're talking about in this district that has, Tim has raised millions of dollars for trying to get the word out. But that's the importance of the new media. This is what the Young Turks can provide that obviously the mainstream media is not going to provide. They are doing everything in their power to make sure that the insurgent people's candidate is not getting the exposure he would need in order to win the election. So it's on us on the ground to really work hard with the assistance of new media to be able to take this candidacy all the way to Congress. And that's how a real change is going to happen. And it's great that we do already have a couple of people that are receptive to what Tim is obviously talking about. But we need boots on the ground. We need to get as many people to the polls as possible. In this district, the last time they voted, 11% of eligible voters turned out to vote in the primary. That is not going to cut it, especially if you want real change.
I think that's telling when a lot of people you knock on have never heard of him, because the mainstream media doesn't focus on candidates like him, even on the state level, and probably even the local media here in Florida doesn't particularly inform people on his policies and activities in his campaign. They kind of just go for the headlines over Wasserman Schultz and things like that. So a lot of people you find probably never heard of him.
They let the TV decide who they're going to vote for. So this grassroots movement, when you explain the issues and her lack of leadership for the working families, is what we're doing here.
And early voting has already started. Okay. So if you are planning on voting in the election, which we hope you are, and obviously it goes without saying there's been a lot of changes this past year in the entire political climate in this country. People are more aware of the constituency of where they live, and obviously the people who are elected to represent them. Tim Canova, he's a Bernie-crat. He is running a 100% publicly funded campaign on the issues that matter most to the people that live here, whether it's the environment, economics, healthcare, education, and whatever matters most to you. Is there a particular issue that you are planning on voting on in this election?
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
I work for Medicaid. So that's it.
Are you for a single-payer Medicare for all system, if we could have it?
Yes.
Tim Canova is 100% for that. The person who currently represents this district, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has been representing it for 12 years. Unfortunately, her record does not indicate having the interests of her constituency as her top priority. So being able to bring in somebody who is literally not attached to corporate money or super PACs, is going to actually answer to the people that live in this particular district, is what's most important. And that's why literally on a Saturday afternoon when we should be at the beach.
Yeah.
We are
Knocking
here.
on doors.
We are here trying to help this man get elected because it's that important.
We were knocking on your doors. You're living in the district. Were you kind of aware of Tim Canova before we knocked on your door?
Not at all. I've never heard the name. Like I said, I just moved to the area not too long ago, so I'm pretty new to a lot of things going on in the area.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you were saying healthcare is really important to you. When you look at Congress, you look the Debbie Wasserman Schultz who's running here. She's talking about expanding Obamacare, whereas Tim Canova is talking about we actually need a completely government-run system. What do you think in terms of which would be better?
I really think that a government-run system would be a little bit better because I think that it'll kind of control who can or how much people can charge and how much these insurance companies can actually charge and what's going on in these issues. Because I think that's what a big problem what kind of made Obamacare kind of fall into the wrong situation because everyone kind of just took advantage of it. Like, hey, I'm just going to jack all my premiums up and jack everything up because now it's mandatory. Yeah. So that's what I feel like happened big time. So.
And you look at candidates who kind of are supporting things like Obamacare, supporting other things that are kind of skimming around the edges. Do you feel like someone like Tim Canova or candidates that are like, we need serious change, not incremental, small change, but do you think the country, it's time for something more big scale?
Well, I definitely think it's time for something more big scale. I'm going to definitely do some more research on Tim Canova, but if that's what he's standing for, then I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. So. Cool.
And lastly, when you're talking about moving here, what are some of the issues that you think need to be addressed for this district, particularly quicker than others?
I think healthcare is just all around healthcare. In general, it's a big problem. It's something that a lot of people are really scared to talk about. Everyone's kind of saying, yeah, we're going to try to do something, or we're going to attempt at something, but no one's really attacking it head on. Mm-hmm. So I think that, and it's not just for this city; it's just for the whole state of Florida in general.
So, Fred, I'm seeing a personal evolution in you over the 2 hours. I don't know if you're ready to pass out or your juices are going, but you're like cheering and ready to go. Tell me about kind of how you're feeling knocking on doors.
I think what we all do is we want to make an impact, and I think we're making an impact, one voter at a time. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to have a revolution, it's one voter at a time. And face-to-face, talking to people, whether they're English-speaking or Spanish-speaking, they can look you square in the eye and go, you know what, we need change in this country, and we're out there being the soldiers for change. And
you seem kind of rejuvenated, like, talking to people and seeing them respond well is kind of giving you a bit of a rush.
I'm loving every second of this. I love being with the young people. I see the enthusiasm. It's a generation that we're giving to you, and I want to be a part of at least trying to give you the best generation you can have for fairness. Make that pendulum go right back to fairness.
Pay it forward, they say.
This was a very productive 2 hours.
Yep, worth the time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely worth the time.
And especially since you had a lot of people, several people that we spoke to, didn't even know who Tim was.
Right.
Still, in this district, at this point, with the election literally
Turn left onto
a week and a half
Shores
away,
Boulevard.
and they still don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm. And then when you told them about him, they were all, for Tim. They understood how important it was.
And you get the impression, since we know this district has low turnout in general, that these people would vote on their own or kind of need a little push?
If the last person that we spoke to turn right onto North sort of exemplifies what this area is all about, if you give them a little nudge, it probably goes very far.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We had some people that had already voted and were planning to vote, but the majority, I think, needed the little nudge because they really weren't educated about primary elections. They're so focused on the general that they didn't realize the importance of this primary election.
It's also amazing how much statistics can be accurate when you are assessing a particular area. We came across one person out of anybody we talked today who said that they are undecided and probably leaning towards Debbie, and she fit the stereotype of a Debbie voter in a nutshell.
How so?
Literally. Senior-age female.
Senior-age female.
Yeah.
Right.
In 1 mile,
and I think something you see here is the people that don't know Tim and might resonate with him. You saw 3 or 4 people, healthcare, first thing out of their mouth.
Absolutely. That is without question the number one issue that we picked up on today. There was not even a close second. I'm sure most people care about the money in politics, and that's very important. But in terms of the issue that is definitely at the forefront of what is most concerning to the people who live in this district. Healthcare is definitely number
Their
one.
own existence.
Which shows you that they might not be so aware of their congresswoman's positions, because she's pretty much promising more of the same. And if they care about healthcare so much, reason would stand they have difficulties with the prices.
Absolutely.
She doesn't even want to give medical marijuana the green light. I mean,
Right.
if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what does.
And she's pushing the TPP, which will raise the prescription drugs twofold.
In half a mile,
Get rid of
turn
generic
left onto Van Buren
drugs off
Street.
the market.
So let me ask you, because obviously the heat of the primary is over. Bernie Sanders is not campaigning anymore, so I see all over the country people I meet are a little dispirited. But then you guys are still, obviously have a mission in mind for the burners who are feeling a little angry, disconnected, emotional. What do people kind of still currently fighting? What would you say to them?
Well, I think it's obviously important to see that there are still people active, boots on the ground, if you will, that are going to go that extra mile to really see to it that this change sustains itself. It is very easy to feel jaded.
Turn left
There
onto Van
are
Buren Street.
people, as you know, that are not going to forgive Bernie for endorsing Hillary because they feel that there's way too many issues here that was discussed over the course of this campaign that would be completely on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of where Bernie stands on the issue versus where Hillary stands on the issue. And in a lot of ways, as you see right now, Hillary has basically been making a mockery of the entire movement with the people that
In a
she's
quarter
bringing
mile,
on board
turn right onto South
to her
20th Avenue.
election team,
Right.
her pivot, if you will. And this is causing a lot of people to say, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to vote for Trump. I don't want to vote for Hillary. And Jill Stein is not going to be the next president.
Right.
So what am I supposed to do? And what is most important, as I would explain to anybody who wants to be involved politically right now, do exactly as Bernie said, which is from the ground up. That's how it changes. Nothing else will change it. When you have representatives in your district who answer to you and not to the people who bought them off, then you'll have real
Turn
change.
right onto South
Which
20th
means
Avenue,
not only
then turn left onto
not
Jackson
only
Street.
raising a stink when there's an election a week from now, but raising a stink after the elections are over and they start screwing you over.
Hold people accountable. Hold people accountable. And I would just say that, activism
Turn
isn't a
left onto
spectator
Harrison
sport. If you
Street,
want
and
to
the
change
destination
things,
is on your left.
you gotta participate. And you know what? If not, don't bitch.
Turn
At
left.
the end of the day, don't bitch.
Fred Frost, my friends, an American treasure.
Fucking Fred Frost.
Fucking
Fucking
Fred
Fred Frost.
All right, thanks, guys.
A big kiss to Debbie.
Yeah.